Like I did with episode 2, I will be using screenwriting concepts to analyze the plot, characters, and themes of episode 3 and examining if it's a good movie by these standards. The intro starts with an in media res scene. Palpatine has been captured by Grievous and the heroes are in battle to rescue him. The inciting incident is a vision of Padme's death. I say this because the vision is what motivates Anakin throughout most of the plot. The midpoint is when Mace Windu dies. Act 2B starts with Order 66. Act 3 starts with Anakin vs Obi-Wan. The climax is Anakin's defeat. The resolution is everything after. How does this compare with Arndt's structure, which in New Hope follows? Problem A is the fact that Padme will die in the future. I could argue that gaining the Sith power to save lives is problem B, the short-term plan, but Anakin doesn't really do that. Palpatine doesn't even know the secret to this power yet. The midpoint is the setback and reversal that changes the direction of the story, which is Mace Windu's death, so that checks out. The climax doesn't follow his formula because, like episode 2, Anakin has a negative character arc. Anakin's character arc is even more interesting in this episode. In episode 2, the truth he needed to learn was logic should guide your actions. In this movie, Anakin has halfway learned the lesson during the time skip. There are certain areas where he thinks logically and obeys Jedi rules, but there are also areas where he still leads with emotion. The emotion is especially apparent with his desire to save Padme. Let's look at all of his key character moments. In the intro, Anakin decides to fight Dooku with Obi-Wan, which is in contrast to his hastiness before. Anakin doesn't want to kill Dooku because it isn't the Jedi way. This is logical too, but Palpatine tells him to do it anyway. This wasn't an emotional choice because he was pressured. Even then, he regrets it. Palpatine wants Anakin to leave Obi-Wan, but he refuses, doing the honorable thing. When they get captured by ray shields, Anakin chooses patience, trusting R2. Calm and rational. Even though they're captured, their plan with R2 allows him to break free. His first emotional choice is when he continues his marriage between him and Padme. When Anakin has visions of Padme's death, Yoda gives him advice. The fear of loss is a path to the dark side. Death is a natural part of life. Attachment leads to jealousy. Train yourself to let go. This is the truth he needs to learn in this episode, which is a more specific version of be logical, not emotional, and the theme of the film. Anakin is mad when he joins the council, but is not made a master. When Palpatine brings up the power to save Padme from death, Anakin wants it, showing that he's failing to learn the truth. Later, Anakin apologizes to Obi-Wan for his impatience, showing his rational side. When Palpatine reveals to Anakin that he's the Sith Lord, the latter does the rational thing and reports him to the council, specifically Windu. Mace Windu says that he almost trusts Anakin. If he follows his orders to stay back while they deal with Palpatine, he'll get his full trust. He's so close to the finish line, but he thinks about saving Padme and goes to the battlefield against his orders, an emotional decision. When Windu's about to kill Palpatine, Anakin stops him because it's against the Jedi way and to gain the Sith power. This is when Anakin goes full Vader and does anything Sidious says to save Padme, an emotional decision. He kills the younglings, the Viceroy, and fights Obi-Wan. What makes Anakin's fall arc so powerful and painful is the fact that he was so close to completing a positive arc, or retaining his positive arc, but he failed at the last minute and went off the deep end. In simple terms, Anakin's ghost was the vision of Padme dying. His lie was that he should prevent people close to him from dying. The truth he failed to learn was that dying was natural and he should learn to let go. In more complex terms, Anakin was split between being logical and emotional, which leads nicely into the synthesis theory. In the video, does Luke Skywalker have a character arc? There's an argument about synthesis that is made. In episode 4, Luke's arc is going from using logic and ration to using instinct and emotion. He passes this arc when he relies on the Force to blow up the Death Star. In episode 5, the truth and the lie reverse. Luke has to learn to follow logic rather than his instincts, but he fails that arc when he walks into Vader's trap based on instinct. This ends in failure. In episode 6, he learns the previous lesson by not killing Vader in an emotional rage, and instead calming down and acting rationally. Throughout the movie, he's able to act both emotionally and rationally, balancing the two and using the best option depending on the situation. That's the summary of the video. Elements of that balance can be seen in episode 3, except Anakin doesn't perfectly balance them. Logical is calm, rational, and obeying the Jedi rules. Emotional is the opposite of that. Throughout the first battle with Grievous, Anakin makes the right logical decisions, except for killing Dooku. But in Act 2, the need for synthesis arises. When Obi-Wan wants Anakin to spy on Palpatine, Anakin replies by saying that it's against the Jedi Code. This is a logical response. Kenobi then says, use your feelings, to sense that Palpatine is suspicious, which is emotional. But in the last movie, Obi-Wan was teaching Anakin to be logical and not emotional. I believe this is the balance that was in the originals. There are times where you need to be logical and times where you need to be emotional. For more proof, in episode 1, Qui-Gon Jinn is the thematically perfect character. He doesn't make any errors, and even he breaks the rules sometimes, which classifies as emotional. He had balance, and so do other Jedi in episode 3, like Obi-Wan. Anakin should have been more emotional here. Then Palpatine also tells him to search his feelings when he's manipulating him into thinking the Council wants to control the Republic. Anakin doesn't fall for this, which means that he made the logical choice, which was the right one. At the midpoint, Mace Windu was going to kill Palpatine, but it wasn't the Jedi way. But Windu's reason was that Palpatine controlled the Republic and the Senate, making him too powerful to stand a fair trial. Windu was emotional because he was breaking the rules, logical because Palpatine was too powerful, and right. Anakin assembled the two choices in the wrong way. He used logic in the Jedi way to justify not killing him, and used emotion in his need to save Padme from death. This incorrect balance led him down the wrong path. Windu was the second time a Jedi has framed being emotional as positive. The third time is when Yoda tells Obi-Wan to use his feelings to find Anakin. So the balance of emotion and logic is the ultimate character arc for a Jedi, which could be argued to be the theme of the film, or the overarching theme of the trilogy, or the theme of both trilogies. I'll be honest, this might all just be a stretch, but there's pretty solid evidence in the text to support it, so I rock with it. Here are all the other good writing facets. First is the payoffs to things set up in episode 2. There, Anakin had a small scene where he argued for a dictatorship, while Padme argued for democracy. In this film, that is expanded upon, and it becomes more important. He's in favor of the Chancellor gaining more executive power. He said, more action, less deliberating, which didn't please Padme. Later, they have another conversation where she says the Republic might no longer be a democracy, and Anakin says that she sounds like a separatist. Padme wants diplomacy, not fighting. Anakin's preference for action in favor of a dictatorship pull him closer to siding with Palpatine and pay off in the Galactic Empire. I thought that was cool. There's also Anakin's rage towards Obi-Wan in episode 2. After killing the Raiders, he complains about Obi-Wan holding him back. We don't see it that much in that film, but in this one, we see not just Obi-Wan, but the entire council holding him back. They don't want him in the council. When he's allowed in the council, he isn't given the rank of master. Despite being the best fighter and recommended to fight Grievous, they all chose Obi-Wan instead. Finally, this climaxes in Anakin and Obi-Wan's death match. I like how they paid off that small plot thread of a rift between Anakin and the council members. I love the complexity in this movie. In episode 2, Anakin's love story started out pretty boring, but in this episode, there is no B story. Only brief splinters, and every single minute is entertaining. All the politics of the Senate and Chancellor, and the war between the Republic and Separatists are brilliantly handled. They go into just enough detail to give the audience a grasp of the situation, but not too much that the story gets boring or too long. The amount of wars and large-scale battles are amazing, but the writers were able to just focus on the important parts so that none of them overstayed their welcome. In the intro space battle, we only see Anakin and Obi-Wan's perspective. We don't see how the battle turned out for everyone else. In the battle against Grievous, we only see Obi-Wan's 1v1 duel, but there are brief scenes of others fighting in the background. The writers knew how to cut the fat and focus on the essentials, while making it still feel like a large-scale war. I like the parallel of Sidious having his new apprentice kill his old apprentice, which he tried in episode 6. Palpatine's scheming in this episode was brilliant, and the way the writers tied up everything to create the world that we see in episode 4 was phenomenal. Even though they had a predetermined destination for the movie, they found smooth ways to check all the necessary boxes, and it's so impressive. The lack of Jedi, Vader's transformation, the splitting of Luke and Leia, it all feels natural, like it was written in this order. In conclusion, Revenge of the Sith meets the basic key steps of 3-act structure, but it doesn't meet the specifics of Arndt's formula like A New Hope. Anakin's negative character arc is well written, and even has the synthesis theory to give it more depth. The war, politics, payoffs, and wrapped up plot threads were all magnificent to create the world in the original trilogy. Episode 3 has the advantage of a plot that's always escalating compared to 2, but 2 had the intriguing mystery and the proper handling of 2 plot lines. Ultimately, I think these 2 films are the height of the Star Wars films, and probably the franchise as well.